Søren, you have recently been appointed as a new head of lending at the
Yes.
Nordic Investment Bank, and you had your 25th anniversary also. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
With your experience, what has changed in the bank over the years?
So many things. To mention a few, I would bring up the membership of the Baltic countries, when they joined the bank on January 1st, 2005. That really made quite a big significant change in the operation of the bank. I would say also the complexity in general for all financial institutions, that certainly also of course impacts an institution like NIB. This is something that is, I would say, constantly still changing our daily operations. And then finally, of course, the mandate has changed over the years. We started off by talking about the Nordic interest when we were to finance a project. Today we are discussing productivity, environment as a mandate, and we were really out very early compared to other financial institutions in focusing on the mandate part, on the environmental part. And we see other institutions are catching up with us. So we are happy to lead, having to some extent at least led the way in that.
Is the mandate also one of the reasons that you have stayed here at the bank for quite a long time?
I would say definitely yes. I think for all of us it is increasingly important to have a purpose with what you're doing. And I have been able to very much align myself with what the bank has had as a mandate over these 25 years. I think it's interesting to see also that when we hire maybe especially younger people to the bank, it is really mentioned and discussed in every job interview that we're doing, that new potential colleagues are talking about that they really can align themselves with NIB's mandate. So this has clearly been one thing. Another thing has been that the bank has been good to me in the sense that I've been able to work in different positions. I've had 6 different positions in these 25 years. Started off in Denmark, being responsible for Denmark, Greenland, Faroe Islands. Then had a chance to move to Asia with my family, where I spent way too much time on traveling to different countries, but it was of course very interesting, and we did a lot in Asia in those days, and it was amazing to see how Asia in general was developing. And then I came to Helsinki quite a number of years ago, and have had different positions here also.
You're a very familiar face to our customers, and in your discussions with them, what is it what we can sort of how we can add value to them?
Well, if you look at it very squarely, we have one product, long-term lending. But long-term lending is also needed more and more, I would say. And we're not interfering in the shorter end, but we try to go in where the commercial banks, where the bond market, where they stop on the maturity on how long loans they provide. So normally we start at 7 years and go upwards towards 30 years in some cases. That plus the fact, again, that we are a mandate-driven bank. We have very detailed due diligences on the environment. We are very focused on supporting the companies in their journey. For example, these days it's ESG, environment, social governance that is on the forefront. This is what we like to support them with, and try to start providing more advice in this respect.
Last year the bank updated the statutes, and this is basically laying the foundations how the whole bank is governed, and this is of course something what the member countries are deciding upon. Does that affect your lending business as well?
Definitely it does. It was a gigantic exercise for the bank. It involved so many stakeholders, also on our owner side. What it will enable us to do is, without asking for more capital from our owners, we can actually provide more lending in the coming years, if we are smart enough, and to be sure that we really balance our portfolio so we don't get too much exposure in any sector, but that we really try to support as widely as we can. Then we can do much more on the lending side.
You also already reorganized your lending team, and is this something that the customers will also see? Do they see some difference?
They will. They may not have done it because it's very recent, as you say. We will. So far, we have worked the way that we had one team looking at customers until we had the first disbursement. Then another group would take over the operation during the lifetime of the loan. Now, in order to really get to understand the customers also better, we will have one person that basically is responsible for a loan from cradle to grave until repayment. So they are really much more into understanding the various aspects around a customer. We are in the midst of educating our bankers more, especially on ESG, for example, on environmental issues, but also in other areas. And this is where we think we will be able to be a much better sparring partner for our customers.
Last year was a very extraordinary year for NIB. We were basically disbursing almost 5 billion euro, and that was mainly due to the COVID-19 pandemic. How do you see the outlook for this year?
That's true. 2020 was basically very much on target, what we expected, except for then we had very large response loans, as you said. So that was a big difference in 2020. For 2021, we will be taking a bit of a pause, at least on the growth of our lending book. We like to seek to ensure that we slowly start changing our portfolio a bit in making sure that we do lend to some of these sectors or maybe risk classes where we do not have so much exposure in already, because this is really what will benefit our future growth. So we're not going to see close to 5 billion, I expect, for 2021, but let's see. But it will be less. I should note, however, that we are, of course, very much focused on providing response loans, as we call it, so we can still support our member countries with substantial lending if the need will be there, as it was in 2020. But that is not in the plan, at least for now.
Okay, thank you very much for the interview, Søren.
Thank you for taking your time.